So again, you get the little privacy notice up here at the top. Have a read or click dismiss. And I'd just like to welcome Kieran in. He'll start sharing his screen now. So Kieran, as you know, is the GPO up in Longford Slashers. And Kieran is doing a stellar job and working really hard with us in Longford at the minute, given the current situation. So we're delighted to have Kieran's expertise on all of this. And for my own joys, I'm living down in Athenry now, and I have a little lad who plays under sevens. Athenry, big hurling country, so I've definitely been dipping my toe in for the last while. So when maybe certain areas come up, particular with the child, I might just jump in and offer some stuff that we're picking up from down here. So I hope you all enjoy tonight, and I'll pass you over to Kieran. Thanks.
Thanks, Damien, and welcome everybody. Thanks for taking time out of the busy schedules to join us here tonight. What we're going to go through really is getting the most out of your hurling sessions. There will be games and activities and ideas throughout, but it's more putting them in place and planning for them is more the key message. Just before we start, I'd like everyone, if they can indeed, to go on to pollev.com/KieranMock EOC 171, and there's a quick poll there I want you to fill out. Anyone unsure, I'm going to put the link in the chat here for you. So where the questions are going to go, there'll be a link to that as well if you want to have a look at that. And all I want you to do is, what is the most important thing you associate with coaching hurling? So it can be a one-word answer if you want. It can be a couple of words. If there's more than one word in the answer, you might just leave out the space so it comes up in one thing. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to do that.
The pollev account is just at the top of your screen there again, just if you missed it from the previous slides, just up there at the top. And lots of queer letters in it there, Kieran. MAC.
There is, yeah. And it's still probably 6 letters short of my actual name, so they're getting abbreviated. So there's one in so far. So I'll just give another couple of minutes, see if there's any more. Correct hand, very good. So no switching hands. Striking. Hurl size, very good. Just going to give it another couple of minutes. Very good there. The right hand on top, very good. Again with the correct hand. So we can see a pathway starting to unfold already for us. Skills, enjoying, learning. Brilliant. And the beauty of this tool is if something comes up more than once, it gets bigger. You can see striking is got a couple of votes there because it gets bigger. So if there's one you agree on, you can type it in again and that'll get bigger as well. I just give it another 30 seconds because I know there's not too many on the call anyway. Love for the game, grip, first touch, fun, excellent. So there's a lot of different messages going in there, but all on similar teams, which is great. And even better, I can see fun getting bigger, which is, again, why we all do it, coaches and players alike. Just 10 more seconds, just in case there's anyone more. Playing fast, age appropriate, striking and enthusiasm. Excellent stuff. Okay, guys, we'll move on. We might keep an eye on it later if anything else changes. So, just on today, what we're going to go through. A lot of you be familiar with the tourist principles, and a lot of you would have done your club sessions with Paddy or Owen or myself. So, you're probably familiar with the principles. We're just going to run through those again and give it a video applicable to them. Going to look at physical training and what we can do while hurling, as opposed to stuff in the gym. We can do the physical stuff using the hurl. Session planning, there's quite a big session on that because it's going to be a large part of this. And then at the end, you'll have hurling checklists, and Damien is going to talk you through the resource pack at the end. So after all this, you'll have all this information again. We're not expecting you to remember anything, but feel free to take notes or ask questions like Damien said at the start. So before we start again, just so I get an idea of the different people involved in the call, using the chat bar that you have there at the bottom of the screen, Damien showed you, and where the questions went, you might just put in what age group you're working with at the moment, whether it's the under 14 boys or the under 8 girls or whatever it is, just so I know what the audience is like today. Someone has put in all, which is great, but if you want to learn something specific for all groups, again, Aidan, Adrian, Paddy, Sean Kelly, very good. So there's a mix there between youth, adult and child coaches coming in there. Niall, all underage, Carl, all groups, very good. If anyone's specifically just working with one group, they might put it in just so I have an idea. Very good. So the under 6, under 12 girls, Samantha, excellent. Just give that another 30 seconds, guys, if there's anyone that hasn't commented yet. Excuse me. So Jimmy has under 14 below, excellent. John, you just joined the meeting there. If you're working with any particular group, you might write it in the chat bar there, just so I know, so I can, if we're talking about something later on, I can address it. Damien under 7 with Reen, very good. Just give it another 10 seconds. Okay, we'll move on anyway. So a lot of it was child coaches, youth coaches, and then there's some with all groups, so there's some adult coaches here as well, which is great. So we've got a mix on the call. So again, like I said before, this is a guide to get the most out of your session. There will be games, activities throughout, but these are simply examples on how you could implement them into the planning and running of your session. And like Damien mentioned at the start, if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat box and we'll address them where we can. So just to start off, what is good coaching? So your tourist principles. So a lot of you have done this before. It's great to recap and keep using them in our sessions. So are we testing and challenging all players to improve at their level? So not just the weakest player getting attention or the strongest player getting attention, is that are all players individually challenged? Can there be something that one child can get better at while another might be improving something else? Understand that the player is at the center of the game and provides individualized development. So again, the player-centered approach. So is there something that we can help the players in the middle, the weaker players, the stronger players, improve themselves? So if you take Longford, for example, it has a quite a strong child to county ratio, where other counties might to be kids that will never get a chance to play county. So just think of it that way, that 95% of kids would never get to elite level. So we look at it, how do we improve all players, not just the stronger ones, and keep them in the club? That it resembles the game. So we can do as many line drills and queuing up behind each other to run over hurdles and stuff like that, which is great for fundamentals and kids and stuff, but how often do you want to do that in an actual game? All the players are involved all the time, lots of touches, lots of decisions. So there isn't one ball between 10 and they're all queuing up to use it to take a free, that they've lots of decisions. They're constantly moving, there's loads of balls, and constantly developing each player. And arguably the most important one should always be enjoyable, developmentally appropriate, and a holistic experience. So your fun element that you all mentioned there in the cloud. I'm just going to play a video on each of the principles here. There's a reason behind each of the videos. So this one in particular I took because it's individual skills challenges, and it could be the way forward when we come back. when the pitch is open again next month and we're looking to do things with small groups, and social distancing skills challenges could be a great way to do that. So I'm just going to play this video for you here.
Ground striking. 6 hurling balls are placed on a 20 metres line, 4 metres apart. Player must run and strike the balls on the ground from alternate sides. The balls must travel at least a distance of 20 metres. Ball control. 6 grid poles are placed in a line 12 metres apart. Players must begin at a cone, jab lift the ball onto the hurley, carry it through the poles, around the end cone and back through the poles to the start. The ball must not be taken into the hand or dropped at any time. 4 balls are placed 30 metres out from the goal. Balls 1 and 2 are 10 metres either side of the centre. Balls 3 and 4 are 20 metres either side of the centre. The ball must be sideline cut over the crossbar. Long puck. 3 balls are struck from behind the end line. The distance is measured from where the ball ends up.
And so you get the idea really of the skills challenges. Cork Coaching and Games developed that video a couple of years ago, and the Fela skills challenges and stuff like that have taken over since. But because we're going to be working in small groups when we go back to the pitches first, it could be ideal to have a clipboard, have all your players on the clipboard and have 5 skills for each. And that way you're challenging them individually, you're testing them, they have to go home and practice for the week, and then they have to try and beat their scores maybe at training next week. It's just an idea. So understanding the players is centre the game and provide individualised development. So it's player centred. And Kieran Carey is here, he's just going to talk a little bit about the player centred approach.
When we're involved in a team, then what's hugely important, because you know they're only 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and they can get hurt very easy. So even in delivering our message, how we speak to them, and it should be always about making them better players if possible, improving them. It shouldn't be about under 12 cup tonight, we're going to win it. It shouldn't be about that. That'll look after itself in time, whether it's 18s or juniors or seniors. It's about getting them out, about them enjoying it, and about them improving and getting better. Happy going to training and happy after training. My definition of a good coach really, or a good manager, if you have a squad of 20 players, boys or girls, and if you're improving them every little bit, all the time, it's inevitable you're doing your job. Usually then the cups and the scoreboard looks after itself. So what I'm saying is, don't be driven because of the county final wasn't won in 10 years. It doesn't matter. It's about participating and getting them to enjoy it. But I'm very strong in that, and how you deliver the message. A player or a little girl could get lost very easy on the squad if they're not treated with respect, treated with love, and treated with honesty.
So there was a good few points there by Kieran made, and just to emphasise that, and experience from my own club here at Ballinderry in Galway, Noel Lane would be the famous hurler from the club, and scored the winning goal in the 88 All-Ireland final for Galway. But as a child, he was never one of the ones on the team. He was forever on the bench. He didn't develop till late. He was in his mid-20s before he made his first senior staff for the club, and in his late 20s and 30s he was one of the best players for his county, never mind the club. So kids develop at different rates, and we have to accommodate that. And so the kids that might be falling away because they're not as good as the rest could be your stars of the future. So what resembles the game? So games based, so like I said, our big long lines of cues to practice hitting over the bar. Could we be doing something else? So this game is just to compare the two things, that you're going to be, say you're shooting for points there on the left, taking turns. It is good shooting practice, it's good striking on the run, etc. like that. But by bringing it into a game, we can put that and more into it.
This game is called the circle game. It emphasises shooting, passing, blocking, first touch, teamwork and support play, individual marking responsibilities, spatial awareness and decision making, and making good angles for shots. Scores are points taken from either side of the goals from outside the circle. A block down is also a score. The ball is never out of bounds. It plays on after a score or a wide.
So there you have a comparison of a straight line drill to a games-based drill, where you're still getting striking on goal, you're still getting shooting, but there's also lots of decision making, lots of movement, lots of team play. And I had a discussion with a coach before who argued you didn't get as much strikes on goal as you would. So what I do in that situation is I take 2 players off one of the team and put them on the other. So there's always an extra couple of players, increase the number of striking, still makes the other team work hard. Maybe could be working on their fitness while the other team is doing well with the striking. So there are ways to change it. You don't have to go back to the line drills just to get more strikes. It's just changing your game to suit your needs. So the next video is Martin Fogarty. We've all seen him down. We've had him down in Longford recently doing a session, and probably everyone here was involved at some stage with Martin. And just it's a quick, simple idea. There's lots of touches, lots of decision making, players involved, resembles the game, and it gets the chance to improve all the players.
This is a nice little exercise for sharpening up players, particularly in the lead up to maybe a big game. Players are working on short striking with both sides. They're working on handling, laying off the ball and touch. They're also working on interval running, that is, changing pace as they show for a pass, which is a very good form of physical training. The idea is to strike to the blue cones and then run diagonally to the red to receive a pass. So in a game, when you're looking for a pass, you don't run up to the player with the ball, you run out to the side of him. There are variations in this exercise also. Initially, players can strike to the hand, then they can strike to the feet, and then they can also hand pass. So it's up to coaches again to vary the drills to suit their own needs, to suit the standard of their players.
So lots of decision making, lots of touches there. And he also mentioned resembling the game as well, where they're running out to the side, they're not running directly to the player, and they're always moving. And the last one then, should always be enjoyable, development be appropriate, holistic GAA experience. So your fun element. Eamon O'Shea, he's a master at hurling tactics and a great brain of the game. But this is just something simple. While they're pucking the ball at the start, you'll see how to make it a little bit more enjoyable for them, more challenging for them at the start, before the session even starts.
It's everything. The culture you want to create is really critical, and the culture starts before you're eating the pitch. So these guys are out now pucking, right? I haven't appeared in the pitch yet, so these guys are out here. So it's important that they're not out here going, sitting on the hurley or chatting. They're out here really doing things you want them to do. So if you want the ball to be played to hand, so they should be doing their pre-training stuff ball to hand. If you see them doing the hurley, right, then they're not doing what you want them to do, right? So it's ball to hand stuff. You want to be the fun, yeah, you have to judge the mood of your players, yeah, could be a bit low, you know, you never know, you know, you come from school or they're tired or something, so you might be the fun, okay, okay, give the ball, right, so, ball, hit the ball to my head, lovely, yeah, so, might be, go on, off you go, do that, put it in, good, 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 keep going, keep going. So you see variations that fellas won't be able to do it. Great thing if you want a bit of fun at your training session these days is ask them to puck the ball on the ground. Nobody can puck the ball on the ground anymore. I keep telling them what the time was in the 70s when everybody pucked the ball on the ground. You know? So you have a bit of fun and say to them, hey, you think you're good? You think you can play? Yeah? So do another one. One more. Out, go out 90 metres. Go out 90 metres. Now this is before the start. Out. Yeah, give me the ball. So what I want you to do is put the ball up and bring it back down again, a metre from him. One hop into his hand. Bring it down, bring it up, bring it down, a metre in front of me. Good. Yeah, so it's a bit of fun. Yeah, in we come. You're asking them to do things. Yeah, that's challenging them. So they're looking across at their mate and saying, hey, he got it up and down.
So just a fun idea by Eamon there that was starting off the session. So getting at the idea that they're out there, they're touching the ball away, they're getting their strikes in before the session. Could you challenge them then? Could you do something fun? You could even introduce a bit of freestyle hurling into it, where you could do your toe taps or using the other side of the hurl or whatever it might be. You see all the skills challenges that are out there now on YouTube. Could be an idea that something small, challenging, fun to get them started, because especially with the youth, might be coming out of school, like Eamon said, exams, stuff like that, get them out of there having fun straight away, ready for the session. Just going back to the figure of 8 activity there of that Martin Fogarty was doing, Damien has a great point there that the figure of 8 activity encourages striking off both sides naturally, because they'll be turning that way anyway, so they're getting a lot of striking off the right and left without having to turn, so they're naturally working on both sides, which is a great point, Damien. Next thing I want to talk a little bit about my favourite game at the moment, and it's an example of the tourist principles working together. So the idea behind it is that you're down 15-20 minutes early, it's all set up ready to go, and that they're straight into a game the minute they get down. So when we're talking to children what they want to do, they always say want to play a match. Why not have it as the first thing to do? So they start off set up 1-by-1s. So normally for this age you'd have or for all ages really in hurling, you have maybe a goalkeeper on each side, and they're just trying to beat each other from cone to cone, and they're recording the scores themselves, so they're just striking fun. They swap the partners, let them all have a go playing each other, and as it develops, as more players come, you'll always have the couple of lads that are late. It develops further, so you're matching up the different players, different abilities. You can see straight away that one lad is a lot stronger than the other, swap them to somebody else. The weaker lads might be challenging each other, or the stronger lads challenging each other. As it progresses then, they go into 2v2, so you might have a goalkeeper, an outfielder, or 2 outfielders. So you're introducing passing, support play, a lot more decision making, even hooking, blocking, tackling. So you're going from just striking into the match situation where they're using all their skills that they would in a match, and it's resembling the game like we said at the start. And then finally into your 3v3, so you've it all set up from the start. Your cones are there, you take away a couple of cones to get your 2v2, take away all the cones then for your 3v3, because your small goals are there going widthways across the pitch. So all of a sudden, straight into a match, you're going to find that first of all, the kids won't be late anymore, because they know that they're going to have a match straight away the first thing in training, which is great. As a coach, you get to identify the players that might be weak striking, or might be weak picking up the ball, or are not getting their heads up when they're looking for the pass, not taking their steps. So it's a great opportunity to identify all these things as they're playing the game, as they're doing it from the start. Because you don't have to referee, they'll referee the way themselves, doesn't matter what age they are, let them away. It could be ground hurling under 6, it could be, or you could have your seniors doing it. Either way, it's a great game to start any session. Just moving on then slowly, then we're going into the physical training through hurling. So a lot of guys will be in the gym 1 day a week, couple of days a week for their hurling squad or like that. So this is stuff you play on the pitch with them. So the small sided game, like the circle game we saw the video of, or even the 1v1, 2v2 situation. So if you're doing that for a certain amount of period of time, the players are going to be wrecked. So your physical endurance, your conditioning can be done in that situation. So your fitness levels, by playing small-sided games all the time with larger pitches, they'll always be developing. Another idea would be the fun rotation. So if you're going from one area to another, so you have a drill set up over the other side, that they all have to go in pairs wheelbarring over, or doing their sumo squats, or their GAA 15 exercises, piggybacks, whatever it might be, depending on your age groups. They might be crawling with it as little ones, and as they get older, they might be doing more experienced stuff like lunging or whatever it might be over. And then the striking distance. Martin Fogarty, Brian Cody, and a lot of those Kilkenny lads and Cork lads always seem to go back to this for strength. I thought it was interesting, so I went into more detail about it. So the idea being, like they were there for Eamon O'Shea, they were striking to each other at the start. So start 10 metres apart, striking to each other. Every couple of minutes you add another 10 metres till they're all the way to the width of the pitch, and they're striking to each other left and right every second shot. And all of a sudden you're finding the distance where they can get, and they're trying to beat that distance all the time. So by constantly striking the ball, constantly moving the shoulders and the arms, that they are strengthening their strike, strengthening their upper bodies all together with it. Any questions there? Damien, do you want to come in on that point there for a minute?
Yeah, sure, Kieran. So just the use of inverted rows for developing shoulder strength. So basically, a lot of people would use the railing around the pitch to do it, but sometimes the railing can be a little bit too high. So pair players off in threes, or even pairs where 1 or 2 people hold a hurl and the other guy is lying on the ground and he's pulling himself up in a straight line to get his chest to the hurl. So really good for developing strength. And I had a conversation recently with Emmett Egan, who would be a very prominent strength and conditioning coach throughout Leinster and has worked with the Offaly hurlers. And the number one thing that he brought to the hurlers was grip strength when they started playing, because grip strength brought their swing and action on no end. So another very simple activity to work on grip strength is collect a couple milk cartons, fill them up with sand, tie a little rope onto the handle of the milk carton, and then tie the rope around the handle of the hurl. So you hold the hurl parallel to the ground and then twist the hurl so that the milk carton starts raising off the ground, and bring it all the way up and then bring it all the way back down. Super exercise for grip strength. Thanks, Kieran.
Brilliant, Damien. Thanks. I actually never heard of the second one before, so I must give that a go myself. Definitely, and as you said, milk cartons very easy to go. There's no expense in it, and using the hurl for the other part of it, excellent. So the session planning, this section is quite big, so I decided to break it down just into 4 different sections. And Benjamin Franklin quote there, we've all heard before: failing to prepare, preparing to fail. And I think it is valuable for this, and even if it's a small scribble down plan on a piece of paper an hour before training, at least you have a plan in your head. At least you know exactly that you're not there with 25 lads and thinking on the spot what to do, what you want to work on, and we're just going to have a look through this. So you've your different training modules. So I have 4 models to show you, and can work different for the various age groups. I'll go through that now in a second. the GAA activity planner, so that the activity planner that's on the GAA website, we don't use it half enough, in my opinion. And I think we've all heard of it at one stage, but the tool it is very undervalued. Just a session plan template and a session plan I just did up myself, just to show you an idea of one, and just communicating that plan out to your coaches and parents, whatever it might be. So just starting off with the models. So the circuit-based model, in my opinion, works best for under 6 and under 8 children, because you can have various things going on in the different 4 sections. So you have 4 zones, for example. You can have up to 8 zones depending on your numbers and number of coaches you have. So if I just take under 8 session there in Clongish, for example, they might have 4 coaches over the under 8 hurlers there, and they'd have 1 in each zone. In zone 1, they're working on fundamental movement skills, so things like crawling, jumping, hopping, skipping, throwing, catching, whatever it might be. In zone 2, they might have a striking game. They might have a target made up, like Damien says, milk cartons with a little bit of water in them. You have to knock them over with the sliotar. Number 3 can be another fun game. Stuck in the mud with beanbags is done there. So your normal game is stuck in the mud, except there's a few beanbags around, and you have to throw the beanbag through people's legs to free them. Just another idea to use the motor skills in the fun games we all know. And then a skills drill in the 4th zone. So balancing balls or balancing beanbags, whatever it is, on the hurl, going around obstacles maybe. So using the things we'd be using in a game with the little children, that we're developing them to play the game. As you can see, there's 4 coaches there, so you'd have a coach in each zone. You could have 2 coaches in each zone. If you have 6 circuits, you'd need 6 coaches, etc. So it's a good one for a club that might have good few players and interested parents, and this is another great way to get parents interested in the club and involved. It might be just they come in one day and all they have to do is set up ladders or hurdles there for the fundamental movement skills. You might do an obstacle course, and all they have to do is keep an eye on the ladders, and all of a sudden you have another parent involved you didn't think would be. So that'd be the circus-based model. And I'm mentioning under 6 and under 8. There's no saying that you can't do this for seniors, and that your strength and conditioning exercises 1, striking another, hooking and blocking, and maybe power exercises in the 4th one. Like just under 6 and under 8, it works best for me. The next one would be grid-based model. So again, there's 4 zones, except this time all the 4 zones will be doing the same thing at the start. So you might have 4 or 5 children in each zone, and what you do is you play the same warm-up game in all the zones. So you're stuck in the mud with the beanbags there, for example. All zones will be doing that within their zone. So you might have 1 or 2 catchers for the 4 or 5 people that are on playing the beanbag catch, and those 4 zones can develop into 2 zones, into 1 big zone, depending on what the game is. So what you'd have to do is set out 4 grids with a colour cone in each. So you see there's a blue, a pink, a yellow and red just there, for example. The warm-up game I mentioned there, so you're stuck in the mud starting off. Next, after that, you'd pick your new skill. So if we're practicing the row lift today, there'll be row lift game in each zone, the same game, and practice using the idea. So you're introducing it, demonstrating it, explaining it, and then the attempt it. So if you were doing, say, the musical chairs version, so all the balls are in the middle of the grid, and all the kids running, skipping, jumping, hopping around, and then when the whistle goes or the music stops, whatever your facility is that they have to come in and roll up a ball before someone else, and you might take out 1 ball each time, and so that there's a process of elimination and you have a winner. What I tend to do as well is I have extra balls just outside the little zone, where anyone that gets pulled that might be out, they might have missed the ball, that they're practicing the roller, so they're not idle either, they're not out, they're practicing for the next round. The 3-team model, I tend to use this for under 12s and up. So there's 3 zones in this really. So at the start, you pick 3 teams. You've red, blue, and yellow there. They're put in the zone at the start. So one team goes into one half of the pitch, the yellow's into the second half of the pitch, and the red team's into a skills area. And again, you do your warm-up game with them all there. They're all warming up. So the blues warm up together, yellows warm up together, the reds warm up together. Whether it's the GA 15 warm-up or if it's a fun chasing game like we mentioned before, depending on what you have, what numbers you have, etc. So after that, the yellows and blues go straight into a match where you might be focusing on one thing. We'll say the row lift again, for example. So in the skills area, the red team are working on the row lift while the other 2 are playing the match. The other 2 during the match, anyone who does a perfect row lift will also get a point. After 6 or 7 minutes, depending on your time, you rotate clockwise. So yellows go into the skills area, reds come in to play the blues, and so on, so on. So everyone gets to go playing the matches, and everyone gets to go in the skills area. And as a coach, you only need a parent really to referee the match. So if you're the head coach, you can be in the skills area, you can see them during the match, you can be the one, okay, we need to work on this, we need to work on that. And you'll see it after a couple of weeks, what child needs help with what skill. And that's what you use your 3-team model then over the next few weeks to develop. So you notice that a lot of them are swapping hands, or a lot of them are very poor on the weak side. So you change the session then over the next few weeks using your 3-team model to suit that. And then the game I fix it, generally, again, can be used with a lot of different ages. Generally, I use it for the youth ages and the adult. You have your GA warm-up activities, GA 15 or whatever it might be. So you have a game-based activity. So straight away you can go into conditioned games, or it might be a shooting game, or whatever it might be, depending on what you're working on. Identify the skill you're working on. Let that game flow. See what the problem is. Bring it all out, fix it together, and then go back into a different condition game or a grade, like in the last one, and condition it with that game. So if you found that the blocking was poor in the game at the start, all of a sudden the game at the end is a blocking game. So those were the 4 different models, kind of to suit child, youth, and adult coaches, and they're all kind of different in their own way. I'm going to go through a 3-team version of it in a second, but I just wanted to bring you back to the activity planner and what a useful tool it is. So I'm just going to play this little video on how to use it. Again, on the GA website, the learning.ga.ie/planner is the actual URL. But definitely, if you haven't used it before, I challenge you just to try it. Once or twice, do a session, make it up on this, print it out, have it ready. I'm just going to play this video of Jimmy talking about it here.
Welcome to the new GA Activity Planner for Coaches. This planner has been designed to help coaches identify activities suitable for their players and to build coaching sessions from these activities. The planner contains activities for hurling, Gaelic football, handball, and rounders. Each activity is represented by a thumbnail, which identifies the type of activity. For example, this is a conditioned game. The name of the activity, here this one is called hand pass captain ball, and the rating, which is based on how different users have judged it. Click anywhere on the thumbnail to view the activity. Each activity contains text which explains what the activity is designed to do. It also contains text on how to organize the activity and how the activity can be varied by using the step method. By changing the space or area that the activity is organized in, by changing the task that the players are challenged to do, or by changing the type of equipment or the number or role of the players. Each activity also contains a diagram which displays the organization of the activity. Most activities have a video which shows the activity in motion. Underneath the diagram and video display panel, the types of equipment required to organize the activity are displayed. In the top left-hand corner, a series of icons represent the types of playing activities icons represent the types of playing capacities that the activity develops. These capacities are described in the Total Playing Performance or TPP model. A PDF worksheet for the activity can also be printed out. On the left-hand side of the activity planner, a series of filters can be used to narrow the thumbnails visible. Activities can be filtered by age or grade. These ages or grades correspond to the different stages in the GAA player development pathway. The activities can also be filtered by skill type, as described in our skill categories. Finally, the activities can be filtered by activity type, as described in the Coach 10 activity wheel.
That was just a video on using the activity planner, and my challenge, I suppose, to everybody is to go back, try and use it before your next session. Put all those sessions into a PDF and print it like that, and that's your session plan done by just choosing what you want to work on online. Damien has a very good question there, just on the models, before I move on. So the circuit model, the grid-based model, the 3-team model, and the game and fix it. So the 4 models I just went through before that. If you can all just put in the chat, Damien's question is, which model appeals to you and for what reason? So if you say the circuit-based model suits you best, why do you think that is? If we can just get a couple of minutes there, have a think about it. I'll go through them here again slowly. And if you put in what model into the chat on the right, and why do you think you use that model? So the circuit-based model, so there's 4 different games going on in each section. Fundamental movements, might be a striking game, a fun game, and a skill drill. The grid-based model, where they're just broken into smaller teams, but all working on the same things. And that can be developed into a no man's land or an over the river game by just putting 2 sections together and playing against another one. The 3-team model, where there's 2 teams playing a match and the 3rd team is in the skills area and you swap over. And the game and fix it, that you're into the game based stuff, and you identify the problem and you go back into a game and use that problem as their scoring method, their condition. So out of those 4, if you could pick one and just give me a reason why you think that one would suit you best. So I'll be going down through these so you can see them again. Damien says the circuit for him is dealing with young kids. It gives them great variety for short attention spans. Exactly. So you have 4 different activities straight away. So if Damien's young lad is doing fundamental movement skills for 4 or 5 minutes, then he's striking for 4 or 5 minutes, then he's doing a fun game, then he's doing skill drill. So he's got, in 20 minutes, he's got 4 different striking stuff or 4 different games that can help him develop as a player. I I'm not sure who Paddy the Plasterer is, but circuit based, I use it all the time. Great for covering lots of different skills and keeping players engaged. Absolutely. Niall is the 3-team model. Good for the under 11, under 14 teams. Definitely, because you're playing the matches that they want to play, but you're identifying the skills and you get to work with them in smaller groups on that skill. John, the game of Fix It, because it represents what happens on the pitch. Greater challenge for coach, for youth and adult. Absolutely. So we talked about resembling the game earlier on. So this is the game. Fix what you could see in the game. Go back and all of a sudden, so if no one's hooking or blocking, all of a sudden fix that skill, do work on it, go back into the game at the end, and all of a sudden your points or your goals are for hooking and blocking as opposed to scores. Excellent. I might just give it another 20 seconds if anyone else wants to write anything in there. 30 seconds will give you a chance. So just slowly going up again. 3-team model, 3 different teams, 2 of them in a game, 1 working on a skill, and they rotate. Grid-based model. A lot happening. Probably the best one for setting up, because once you get set up, all your games, all your activities happen in it. So it's the handiest one if you have time beforehand to get it all done. Circus-based, good for the children, the younger children, like Damien was saying. So a lot of variety, a lot of stuff happening. And Samantha agrees there, the circuit-based would be great for the under 10s for skills development, to keep the kids interested. Absolutely. So the attention spans are going to go after a while anyway, but if you have a new game every 5 minutes, it's brilliant, especially for the younger ones. Just another 10 seconds, guys, if anyone else wants to comment. Otherwise, I'll move on. Damien, do you want to mention anything on the 4 models?
I was just going to type it in there, Kieran. You're reading my mind. We're that close to each other. It's very heavily dependent on how many coaches you have available to you. So, circuit model, you can only have a number of circuits for the number of adults or teenagers you have that's going to run those activities for you. And then, like the game and Fix It, that potentially is if there's only one coach can run that one. So very heavily dependent on the number of bodies you have there and the game and the breakaway skill. So even if you have anyone that can referee a game, pull a parent in, or your teenage son or daughter or whatever it may be, they referee the game, and the coach's greater value is in that skill area because they're only working with a third of the players. So you're getting better value out of what you can do than referee in a match.
Definitely, yeah. Thanks a million, Damien. I completely agree with that. And at the moment, the 3-team model, just for the sessions I've been planning myself here at home, it's key to it, and I'm going to show you one on that now in a second. So this is just I picked a random age group with under 12 session plan. So this looks all very fancy and stuff. This was a scribble on a page. I just decided to type it so everyone could read my writing more than anything else. So under 12 session, based on blocking and using the 3 teams model that we just talked about. So organising it, you've set up your pitch for a game and a smaller zone off to the side. So normal condition game pitch and a small square for the skills work. So as the kids come, 3 balanced teams pick them, and they're each wearing a different colour, be the yellow, the blue and the red like we had earlier on, for example. So the warm-up I mentioned already, so you have 1 team in each and half of the pitch and the other in the zones. Play a game, warm-up game, so it's under 12, so a tail tag game, so they've already got bibs, so you might as well use them. Get them to play the tail tag, gets them warmed up, gets them moving, get them working on turning all the time. So there's 3 games of that going on, with about a quarter of all the players as catchers, so you're rotating the catchers all the time. Depending on the age group, you might want to change around. It can be a hopping, skipping round, crawling round. You can go into your lunges or sumo squats depending on the age group of it. So that's your warm-up. And the main focus of the session, keeping those teams in their zones. The players in the skill zone will now work on blocking technique in pairs. So a ball between each two, one's throwing it up to strike, just slow motion, allowing the player to block it. So you're working on your blocking skill. The coach is in there in the skill zone, showing the block, showing how to bend into it, where exactly they should be, where their head is positioned in their hands, their feet, their hurley, while the other two teams are playing the small-sided game, but they're using conditions at a session. So a block is worth an extra point, or if a block is made in a certain zone, it's worth a goal. So depending on the team you have or what you're doing. So after the set time, I've 8 minutes here. Might be a bit long for under 8s. They'll be wrecked. One team will replace the team in the zone and practice the skill. So your yellows and blues are playing, and the reds were in the zone. Now you're swapping. So the reds and the blues are playing, and the yellows in the zone. So they're all getting a chance to do the blocking in slow motion, the skills work with their coach. And like Damien said, there could be a parent refereeing the match, just giving a point for a block. So it's easier to coach. So once all the teams had to turn in the skill zone, the 3 teams will now play in the same game. So I bring in the 3 teams into the one game. So the reds and the yellows are playing each other, and the blues, the only way the blues can win is by blocking. So the reds and the yellows are playing a normal game, goals, points, everything, and the blue team are just blocking everybody. It'll be absolute chaos, but the beauty of it is there's going to be so much blocking, there'll be very little striking. And that is the beauty of it, is that if you're focusing on blocking, it's all blocking. So not only the game might not be high scoring other than the blocking, but as under 12s, for them to get that many blocks in a game situation is unheard of. So they're comfortable blocking. They're comfortable, might get a little slap on the wrist with their hurley. They get used to it. They know where to put their head, know where to put their hurley. And you're rotating this again. So if the reds were doing all the blocking, the blues are next and the yellows are next. So you all of a sudden, you've got 8 minutes there. We'll say 7 minutes is 21 minutes. You could do that for another 5 minutes. All of a sudden, you're up to your 40 minutes already. So your warm-up might be 10 minutes. You're nearly an hour done just by using your 3-team model. And a physical element at the bottom, like I mentioned before, you could introduce a physical or fundamental movement skill into the changeover to focus on strength or flexibility, whatever it might be. So when the red team are moving from the game over to the skill zone, they must go in wheelbarrows, or they must go on each other's backs, or they must lunge over, or they must hop together, standing long jump or whatever it might be. So you're always challenging them, but you can bring in the physical element into the changeover. So while they're moving over, they can be doing something. So this is just a simple template. It was actually taken off one of the Dublin clubs' website. I think it was Ballyboden had it. So all it is a warm up, what fundamental skill you're moving, the fun game, skills, condition game, cool down. So this one would be for the grid model. So they're not moving out of the grid. They're all doing the warm up together in their different zones. Then the fundamental skills, then the fun game, the practical skills, condition game, and your cool down. So that's just an example of it. I have Damien is going to talk to you about the resources after this webinar, and there's a couple of planners and templates and stuff in that, so you can use away. But don't be afraid. Scribble it down on a piece of paper. What I find is a kid's copy, even the sums copy, is great because you can do little diagrams without using a ruler. Just fire them in, and if you have 6 plans in a little copy like that, you might only have to change something small like the fun game or the skill that you're working on, but the body of your plan is still there. So after 10 weeks, you've 10 different sessions. If you have 10 sessions done, there's nothing stopping you going over, starting again, 10 sessions, just making them maybe a little bit harder because they're used to it. So by all just adding up all those scribbles, all of a sudden you've got a year plan. This is something I see a lot of people fall down on, communicating the plan beforehand. So if my club here in Ballydurring, if the under 14 coach has a plan made, but he shows up for training at 7 o'clock, and the other two guys that are helping him out don't know anything about it. So he has his plan ready. He's trying to explain them, give them the jobs of what they're doing when they've never talked about it or anything before. So if you're an under 12, say I'll use Niall Ward, their example. Niall, if you're the under 14 manager, my challenge would be to you is have an under 14 group just for yourself. It can be a text message group or whatever you want to use, Facebook, whatever it might be, to communicate beforehand. So everyone knows what they're doing before they get up. So it could be just, Niall, you're bringing the helmets today, Kieran has to bring the water bottles, and Carl has the sign-in list. And maybe John and Michael, you're taking the warm-up, whatever it might be. So it's different jobs and you rotate them all the time. But the biggest one probably is, the easiest way to do it is take 5 minutes at the end of the session. So you've just finished your session on blocking there, the 3 teams model. Have a chat at the end. How did it go? Who did it well? Who maybe needs more help with the blocking? How did all the players react to it? Would you do it again? If you did it again, what would you do different next time? So those kind of things. It's very important to review the session, but you can be doing that at the end of the session, 5 minutes, and all of a sudden you may even use that as your way to communicate the plan. Okay, next week, Niall, you're doing this. Johnny, you're doing this next week. And all of a sudden you have it even ready to go before you've even gone home.
Kieran, I'd just jump in there on one little thing, if you don't mind. Just if any are adventuring into taking on something new, so one of those models that Kieran had done, and
Damien, you're gonna mute there.
Sorry, Kieran, talking away to myself. I hit it twice. I was just saying about, I posted a message there of another really good resource where people will get some super activities. But generally what will happen with a new activity, you try your best to understand it and implement it, and it will probably fail on a number of levels the first time you try it. And the worst thing you can do is throw that activity out and say, look, I know what I do when I do my normal stuff and it's grand. I'm not going to hang myself out again and have a failure on something. So take the plunge, pick 1 or 2 activities, introduce them, go with it. It'll work for 5 minutes, reflect on it, and see how you can improve upon it the next day. But keep with it with the parents. If the activity was good enough to make its way into one of those books or onto the activity plan, there has to be some value in it. So the challenge to you is just finding that value and being able to use the activity well. Let the players get used to it, and then you'll find that it's very easy to adapt it as you go through the step model, and being able to change a simple activity to last you for 4 or 6 weeks in a row, and it will always keep the players fresh. So that'd be my big message out of tonight is, just don't stick with what you know. Take a chance, try something new, and work on it and evolve it, and your players will really appreciate it and respond to it.
100%. Thanks, Damien. And like Damien said, it might be the fact that the players don't quite understand it the first time. They'll get there, they'll understand, and once you have it in place, like Damien said, it's very easy to change something small to suit whatever it might be using your step principle. And the book by Dublin GAA and Ger O'Connor is called Give Us a Game, the 2nd edition, and it has loads of different activities for all age groups. So that book again is called Give Us a Game, the 2nd edition, Dublin GAA and Ger O'Connor. This is just something I quickly put together. It's something I like to think I have in my head all the time, is before I do anything, have I a plan written out, even scribbled on the back of a receipt or something? Have I spoken with the other coaches like I just mentioned there? Have a plan in place, organise who's doing what. If Michael could ref the game, can Johnny do the skills area? If Angela could have the sign-in sheet ready or whatever it might be. Have you reviewed the last session or game together? So that again could be put at the top of the list. Have you done that before everything has happened? So have you reviewed the last session? Did you take 5 minutes at the end, or did you meet during the week for a coffee, talked about the match? Have you all the equipment ready? There's another slide just on equipment. There's so much of it in hurling. And have you a plan B? like Damien says, it's not always going to work straight away. If you tried it for 5 minutes and they're not quite getting it, have something ready to go. Don't be afraid to try it again for another 5 minutes. So just get them used to it, get them idea, get them on your side. So just have something in the background all the time. Just on the equipment, hurlers and helmets, bibs and cones, they're fairly straightforward. You can't do much without them. Even if there's a couple of lads that never have cones. Eamon O'Shea is a great man, never to use cones. A ball for each child, especially for the younger ones, and for everybody now, I suppose, with the social distancing training coming in, that they can do the skill challenges themselves. They begin working away using the ball themselves. And then again, for your circuit or your grids, whatever it might be, you might have relay equipment, relay races, working on your fundamental movement skills, a variety of different balls. So Seamus is a great believer in this. We were talking about it one day. So you might have really small squash balls, big slitters, big footballs, tennis balls, whatever it might be, and just for kids to get a feel of striking all sorts of different balls, getting them used to the hurley, getting them used to the vibrations. And then beanbags are great for for inside stuff and balancing and stuff like that. Damien is just going to take control here for a second. He's just going to show you. So all this tonight is put in a resource pack for you. So I'm not expecting you to remember all this, but for everything we talked about, there will be a resource that is available to everyone. I just need to stop sharing the screen so you can do it, Damien. Yeah, Damien, have you got control there?
Yeah, I think I have, Kieran. I'm just checking on the phone to make sure that my screen is coming through.
I can just see you, but it might be just me.
Yeah. No, yeah, my screen is coming up for everybody else there. I have it on the phone. Right. Yeah, so Longford GAA website, up here under coaching webinars, and then everything we've done over the last couple of months is all here. So the June series is up at the top. So we have our resource just down here. It's actually highlighted in yellow there at the minute. But there's a resource, so just click on it. Brings you into the shared folder, and everything you want, you can access it there. So all the stuff that Kieran has put in. So we have our Tourist hurling cards there, striking and skill challenge cards, session planner, getting the most out of your session. So it's a copy of the presentation, the Cork videos, and the activity planner guide, that video that Kieran showed there as well. So everything is in there that you can get your hands on. Obviously, we've referenced, Kieran, I'll hand back to your screen there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've referenced the book that's there as well, the Gerard O'Connor book, and lots of resources there that you can work away on.
Thanks, Damien. And if there is anything, I said it a couple of times in a couple of different webinars, if there is something you're unsure of, don't be afraid to give me a call. I know Clongation, Edwarstown and stuff like that, I'm working directly with Slashers, but don't be afraid to give me a call if there's something you want to try or something I talked about that you want more explanation of. I am available to chat through those things. Am I back on, Damien, there?
Yeah, you're there. The screen is sharing, Kieran. Yeah.
Perfect. So just before we go, if there's any questions, post them. Other than that, if everyone can write in just something small that they took away from the workshop tonight, just so I know I'm hitting home with something. Just write it in the chat box like you've been doing for the session, and thank you for doing this. You might just write in one thing that you found helpful or something from the workshop. You might just give that a minute or two, Damien, if there's anything.
Sure, yeah. And any challenge that anybody is facing there at the minute, you know, if you want to throw it in there, we might or we might not have the solutions.
Exactly.
If anybody is typing there and it's slow coming through, you can just hit the raise your hand button as well, so we know that there's something coming from you and you can type it away then. Yeah, I can see somebody typing there now, so there's something coming through.
Brilliant. Something was helpful, so.
yeah, so just to fill the void, I'd like to thank Kieran for all his work tonight, but also, you know, we're working so hard at the minute and pulling all these things together. It's stuff that we're not familiar with doing, and there's a lot of preparation that has to go into it. So Kieran and Owen and Paddy have been doing a super job. And actually tonight, both Owen and Paddy are on a different webinar delivering a club tourist workshop. So, you know, this is our third night live this week. So things are going really good, and we can all see the light at the end of the tunnel now at the end of the month. So it'll be great to get back out on the field, and Cool Camp's coming up and all the rest. So yeah, lots to look forward to, and I wish you all the very best of luck when you get back out on the field. Enjoy your hurling season. Do you want to hit some of those there, Kieran?
Yeah, I will do. There's a couple of thank yous and stuff. Appreciate it, guys. So interesting variations to the drill and setup, and the resources very useful. Thanks, Sean. Plenty of work, well done. Useful information. Thanks, Niall. John knows where I am if they need anything. Very good, John. Paddy the Plasterer, planning the sessions properly beforehand is great advice. Thanks a million. Very, very welcome. And it is essential going forward. I think planning is a major part, and I hope everyone took that from this presentation.
Lovely. Yeah, thanks again, Kieran. Thanks everybody for joining in, and good night, and take care of yourselves. Slán.
Slán.